Issue 39, Stormbringer magazine. A very shady issue with two new shady paints. Hello and welcome to The Lucky Roll, an eclectic channel for eclectic games, and this is our continuing series of Hachette Stormbringer's collection, fully painted. Now, in this particular issue, 39, we get two paints, but paint issues are always interesting because you're not doing or building a mini, you have a little bit more room for lore, and there is some interesting lore in this issue. We have, of course, a focus on the Sylvaneth and the natural order, which is kind of their modus operandi. They are all about kind of nature and preserving nature and protecting it. Now, they tend to default to the forces of order because the forces of order tries to take care of the place in some cases rather than the forces of destruction, which just want to fester and turn everything into a rotting kind of dump. Now, because they're spirits of nature, their reasoning is calm and wise, and in a very literal sense as old as the hills. But if you annoy them, they will tear you asunder. They're capable of great kindness and gentleness, but also capable of great wrath and cruelty. So if they see you scratching your initials on that sacred tree, they will scratch their initials on you. You have different aspects of them, so they're obviously protectors of nature, so they're not just kind of brutes. As soon as they've kind of beaten you off the territory they want to claim back, they will focus on healing the area and bringing life back to it. But it's also an avenging force. So to the unlucky victim of the Sylvaneth onslaught, the fighting is brutal but mercifully quick. The land comes alive as tree revenants erupt around them, slashing and tearing, while Spite Rider lancers swoop down from the sky. Amidst the screams and cries of the dying, the sounds of nature taking its revenge strike an eerie and mournful contrast. And as the warm blood flows into the ground from the shredded bodies, the land is healed by the purging of the invader. So they will basically sow the earth with you, kind of like the Ukrainians with the sunflowers on the Russians. So don't annoy them, go home and behave yourself. We have here story part 2 of Venom, part 4 of the Venom story, which is a continuation here. You also have the Sylvaneth collection, so it allows you to kind of give some names and some backgrounds and characters to them. So you've got 2 pages of that. You also have an interesting aspect where it gives you some more aspects of the crusade and growing your city. So if you take a city, how to kind of develop it, build it up a little bit more. Same thing for the orcs, you're growing your Wa. And we have here, of course, how to paint. Now, of course, you have 2 new shades here. You have Reichland Flesh Shade and Athonian Camus Shade. So it teaches you how to kind of use those a little bit effectively on all the models that you have had here before. You have some little aspects, more of the rules, and a little tutorial on kind of mysterious terrain and then kind of having different aspects. So you're kind of damned, arcane, and inspiring. So depending on what happens with your units around it, and more here with deadly, mystical, and sinister. You also have a pitched battle, which touches upon these kind of enchanted runes. So depending on where your forces are, you might get a little buff or debuff to it. So that was issue 39, and I'll just bring the 2 paints up for you briefly. So I'm actually wrong in saying that they're paints. I hear people in the background screaming. They're actually shades and washes. So you wouldn't call this a kind of an actual base paint or a layer paint. It's not something you kind of apply to it. It's a wash that you would put on top of paints, and depending on the wash, sometimes you want to water down with a little bit of water, or something very specific called Lamian Medium, which is something that Games Workshop makes, which kind of spreads it out a little bit more transparently. But 2 very good shades, especially for the Sylvaneth, that this would kind of give layering and shade to kind of your grass effects. And the Reichland Flesh Shade, of course, would kind of, again, on some kind of grass aspects, but also in some aspects of flesh for some of your Stormcast Eternal characters. 2 very useful shades, and, you know, the great thing about shades is sometimes you can mix them up. So if you wanted kind of a mucky, dirty look, there's no reason why you can't take a little drop from both, mix it together, and see what effects you get. So that, ladies and gentlemen, was issue 39 of Stormbringer magazine. Join us next week for issues 40 and 41, where we'll be doing a big, huge model. So until then, good luck, God bless, stay safe, and See you next week.